right, hello everybody. Welcome to Comic Book Syndicate. We are here to review the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, and we've got the most of the regular cast from Here Comes the Spider Cast here: G.I. Jolie and Joshua Mervell.
What's going on? Happy holidays, everybody.
All right, and then someone I have been trying to get on Comic Book Syndicate for 15 years. Finally, we ran into each other at the bar the other day, and now it's finally worked out. Paul Zettel. Hello, Paul.
Hey, thanks for having me, everybody. Happy holidays to all.
Yeah, for sure.
Welcome to the show.
Before we jump in, let's just talk, let the audience know briefly. Tell us about your history with comic books. Do you still read comic books? What's the deal?
Yeah, they're my only friend. No, just started off as a young kid reading mythology and Walt Disney books and crap. Got into comic books pretty early, probably around 6 years old, until 16. Probably read, I don't know, thousands at that point, and then got out of it for a couple of years. Pretty much every 5 years, I get back into it. And I alternate, so maybe when I was 20, I read a couple hundred, and then 25, I maybe read a couple thousand again. Then maybe at 30, talking to you and a couple other guys, okay, I've got to read some more, and I get back into it for a bit. So I don't know, I've probably logged in somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 comic books, most
Nice.
of the mainstream in my life. And
Great.
and then just TV and movies and,
Well, okay, so how about this? Two things. Tell us maybe your favorite slightly more obscure comic book and your favorite more obscure superhero movie.
Favorite more obscure superhero movie would probably be Swamp Thing Returns.
Okay.
Favorite slightly obscure comic book, probably be a run of Dr. Fate.
Nice. We talking 70s or 80s or 90s or?
It was I think I would say mid to late 80s.
Nice. Okay, very cool.
It was a kind of like psychedelic thing. That it was some real dark art. It was almost like they had a few different artists on there. So some of it was really cartoony with where Dr. Fate's mask kind of moved and molded with his emotions, and then some of it was kind of splotchy and black and dark, kind of like how I think Eric Larson did for a while.
Okay, gotcha.
Almost like he was just like painting with a 3-inch brush half the time with anger, or some of the old Daredevil runs. We get with Mary. What was her name?
Oh, Marie Severin. I think that's
the character.
Typhoid Mary. Typhoid Mary.
Yeah,
right.
A lot of those. There was a lot of blacks and reds and real dark stuff.
Gotcha. Interesting. All right. That's very cool. Well, anyway, we'd love to have you on do a comic review in the near future. But for today, we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. And for those that watch the show, they probably know this is the Guardians franchise is one of my favorites of all the Marvel movies. I don't love most Marvel movies, but Guardians 1, I love. Guardians 2, not quite as good. And then the Guardians in Infinity War and Endgame.
War, yeah.
They were great in that as well, and I'm looking really forward to Guardians 3. So this is kind of a holdover. This is actually the first television special they began producing, but it's come out after Werewolf by Night, which maybe we still will review one day. Who knows, right? But Josh, since you're really good at summarizing plots, do you want to give the 45-second summary of the plot of this special?
Sure. So we start off with a classic animated Christmas flashback, and we see kind of Star-Lord's first Christmas out in space with Yondu, and Yondu is really against the whole Christmas thing and destroys all of his decorations and thinks that it's just like a bunch of mumbo jumbo, and that's how the Guardians are now learning about Christmas. So Mantis and Drax decide to team up and make this the best Christmas Star-Lord has ever had. And the way that they're going to do that is they're going to fly their new ship, the Bowie, down to Earth and kidnap Kevin Bacon, who is Star-Lord's favorite actor growing up as a kid. And they're going to bring him back to nowhere and give Kevin Bacon as a present to Star-Lord. And it's pretty much just like a bunch of hijinks on Earth, and they finally get him out into space, and then they're able to decorate the streets of nowhere and surprise him and There's also kind of this like underlying story. The reason why Mantis wants to like do something special for Star-Lord is because we actually find out that she is his half sister, because Ego is both Star-Lord and Mantis's father.
Right, right.
So yeah.
So we'll say briefly, the holiday special in the title is a reference to the Star Wars holiday special from 1978. Notoriously bad special that George Lucas has disowned, but I own a copy of on VHS if you want it.
I have the digital copy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to talk. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
So I'll just say quickly that as a Guardians fan and as a Star Wars fan, I did enjoy this special, but I felt like it could have been a little bit more wacky. Like I appreciated that they had a couple of original songs in there. I appreciated that they had a mixture of live action and a little bit of animation, which maybe that was a tribute to the Boba Fett cartoon from the Star Wars holiday special. I don't know. But and I appreciate the fact that they filmed this during Guardians 3. So it was very obvious that they just had these sets and they're like, okay, we have Chris Pratt for 3 hours. Let's get all of the scenes done in 3 hours. And that's fine. I can appreciate that. But I still think they underutilized Kevin Bacon. And I really was hoping for a Footloose tribute scene, you know, in the forest of them dancing or something. And I didn't get it. But Jolie, I just want to know your first impression of the holiday special.
Yeah. First impression. I thought it was really fun. I didn't think they underutilized Kevin Bacon since I don't know what Kevin Bacon's really like, but I think I didn't realize how much of an influence Kevin Bacon was on Peter Quill. But it was really fun to see for me, one very underutilized character who, like Mantis, team up with Drax, and to have Drax actually do things that weren't like have actual dialogue with another character and have sort of carry a plot rather than just like be the butt of jokes. Because let's be serious, when he makes jokes in the other movies, we're meant to laugh at him. I don't think we're meant to laugh with him. So it was kind of nice to have these sort of two outsider characters in the team carry a holiday special. It sounds wacky and like it should be full of hijinks, but I liked that it wasn't so off the wall. It was just like, oh, okay, they are kidnapping Kevin Bacon. Like this is already pretty nuts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy how much Drax has kind of changed since his first appearance. Like in Guardians, he was funny because of how flat he played everything. Right, he was like really tough and had like a really rough exterior and didn't really want to communicate or talk. And then by Guardians 2, he was kind of just what we know of Drax now, where he's like a goof, like a lovable goofball kind of thing. He's not really that big tough guy. So it was nice to see a little bit more depth to that side of him, because he was just kind of a character that gave jokes, I think, in Guardians 2 and then in both of the Avengers movies he's appeared in. So yeah, not that we got anything crazy story-wise with him, but it was just nice to see him like be a character and have actual conversations.
Sure. Okay, so Paul Zettel, tell us, what was your impression of the holiday special?
I thought it was a great holiday special. You know, it was entertaining. It was not so off the wall, like Julie was saying, so that, you know, it can kind of still maintain its sort of canon heart. You know, I like that. And Josh, thanks for letting me know that was the Bowie. I was wondering what they were flying. I didn't know the new ship. Appreciate that. Yeah, there's a lot of things. I thought they could have done some different things better, like, you know, but not a whole lot. Like you said, I thought maybe a little more Footloose would have been interesting, or a little more reference to, you know, some of the Kevin Bacon's more obscure things. I kind of thought like a little bit of the wacky stuff, because I don't know, I kind of felt like a flashback to the 80s, and I wanted to see something a little more like something that's rewatchable, something like just say 16 Candles. You watch that a number of times and you start seeing things that they got playing in the background, little side jokes, subtle jokes. And I was kind of hoping that just say, when Rocket Raccoon gets Bucky's arm, maybe in the background they got that hooked up to he's got it hooked up to a snowman and he's just grabbing parts of himself to balls at kids, or just little things in the background just for that rewatchability. You create something great. You want to, kids are growing up watching Guardians. It's part of this, they're growing up, their formative years, and now they got a holiday special. Maybe they want it to be like Christmas Vacation, part of the yearly lineup. Why not do something, a little bit more work to pay off people that are going to watch this every year, but fundamentally, Gunn wrote those, helped write those songs and I thought they were catchy. I thought they were the best new Christmas songs I've heard in a long time. A lot of fun, a lot of good jokes, but I also had a lot of questions, and maybe they'll be answered in the future. Like they said they bought Nowhere from the Collector. I'd like to know how and what the price was. There was that scene in New York that was funny when they went down and started, meeting all the people dressed up in Times Square or whatever it was. And then there was the GoBot, and she's like, oh, Drax almost goes nuts. And she's like, oh, GoBot's killed his cousin. I want to know if they're tying in some sort of canon here, or if that was just a throwaway joke, or if GoBots are coming back. I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty fun to see that.
I got to say, one of the things that I think was lacking in the second Guardians movie was they weren't on Earth enough, right? So in Guardians 1, they open up with Star-Lord on Earth, and there's a little bit of fish out of water, although the most of the movie's out in space. But in Guardians 2, it kind of starts out in a CGI environment, and then the rest of the movie, they're in a CGI environment with Ego and all that. Whereas this movie, I thought it was a great opportunity for comedy to see Drax and Mantis walking down the street and then interacting with cosplayers. I'd love to see more of that with Guardians of the Galaxy, right? I think that's part of their appeal. It's just mixing them in with normal situations. So I thought that was great. And then, and again, as someone that does know what Kevin Bacon is capable of, since I met someone whose mother used to live next door to Kevin Bacon, kind of an expert, but I'm a huge Kevin Bacon fan. And again, knowing that one of the things about him is the 7 degrees of separation with him, it would have been cool. Like you said, they mentioned Footloose and I think Friday the 13th, but they could have mentioned so many other obscure movies that he's been in, or I don't know what, maybe play up the fact that he's played in so many of these roles, right? Like it was an okay gag that Mantis kind of hypnotized them, but I thought they could have done more with it. Again, they built up this joke over the course of these movies, and then they have him, but I didn't feel like they did enough with him. Like, granted, Kevin Bacon actually does have a band called the Bacon Brothers, and they do write their own songs, so it was cool to give them a little shout out and whatever. But I don't know. I just thought they could have done something more. I don't know what, again, but
yeah, I think the middle of the movie felt like there was like maybe something missing. I think
right.
Like you were saying with the whole like she just hypnotized him.
Right.
So there wasn't really like a story with them on Earth. They were kind of just like goofing around and grabbed Kevin and then went to nowhere. So there wasn't really much of like a conflict besides like a goofy chase scene while they're in New York. So I get that, and I think it works for a special. If this was more of like a story or an episode of something, I think maybe I'd be a little bit more disappointed in it. But as just kind of this like little side special Christmas thing, I thought it was pretty all right.
Yeah, you're right. It's almost like they needed a middle act. There's something in the middle something else to happen. But it's funny because it did come off as kind of like a variety, almost like a variety special. And it almost makes me think of, instead of trying to make it a half movie, what if they would have gone the other direction and just went crazy with like, they had a little bit of animation, but what if they went even crazier and had like a full out music video? Or what were you gonna say, Paul?
Like hee-haw?
Yeah, so yeah, like Hee Haw, like why not? Like you guys have all seen that disco song they did a couple years ago, right? Like what if there was something more like that? Or even I'm assuming we're all fans of Peacemaker. You've seen that, right, Paul?
Yep.
I love the show Peacemaker, and one of my favorite things is the opening dance number, right? Like maybe they could have done something like that. Whereas like the songs were good, like we said, but they could have been even crazier, I thought, you know? So I guess overall I did think it was good, but especially seeing what James Gunn has done with Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad, I thought it could have been funnier. I guess that's my take on it. I don't know.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's definitely something that I'll revisit like at the holidays, especially since it's really short. You know, when you've got family around and you guys are doing different Christmas things, kind of put it on in the background. So I definitely appreciate it for that. I had a lot of fun watching it. I laughed a lot. I think, like Paul was saying, I really laughed when Nebula gave Rocket the Bucky's arm.
Yes,
I
so
was
did I.
I was like really shocked by like I was really surprised by it. I didn't see that coming. So yeah, it was I think it was pretty fun. It also like gave us a lot of new things like the Guardians buying Nowhere and the fact that they have the new ship and like all of these like small things. Oh, like Cosmos now I guess part of
Cosmo?
a part of the Guardians now. So that's kind of
Oh, the
cool.
dog. Yes, that was great.
So there's like a lot of fun little things that we've kind of like got snippets of. So I'm excited to see how that's gonna carry over into the next Guardians movie. And we also got like a little bit of that in the last Thor movie too. So yeah, I'm really excited for Guardians 3 now. So
Now I can't remember, Jolie. Did you review Peacemaker on Full Volume Podcast?
Yes, we did.
Excellent. So I mean, you've been doing, you did full volume for a couple years. Of all the TV shows that you reviewed, where does the Peacemaker rank, would you say?
Oh, probably right up at the top. Brett would argue that Scream counts because we did talk about some other properties when we took hiatuses between when there were hiatuses between shows. So he would always say that anything is second to the Scream franchise, but I guess it would rank either one or right after or two after WandaVision.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, or like sorry, Hawkeye. We did like a tier list of everything that we.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hawkeye was another good one. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was definitely like S tier quality.
Right. And Paul, you're a fan of Peacemaker?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I thought it was kind of a given how good it was, but I recommended it to Tim from Border City and he couldn't even finish it. He hated it so much. But I guess it just depends on your sense of humor because
Yeah, I was gonna say it has like a very dry sense of humor. Like I don't think that my parents, for example, would enjoy Peacemaker as much as some of like the Disney Plus shows, maybe.
right.
But it has that like that James Gunn like dry, super adult humor. I think that Guardians doesn't cross that line, like where it's more family friendly, right? Where Peacemaker totally goes beyond that, and I really enjoy it, and I think it really works for what Peacemaker is. But I think it's not for like general audiences, like this special is. I think is kind of like it gets close to the line, but it never really crosses over
Right.
to that area. So yeah.
Now, am I imagining it, or was it not just announced recently that James Gunn has been given like a kind of executive position with Warner and DC
Yeah,
Films?
he's now in like charge of the creative side of
That-
DC films. So
I am ecstatic about that.
I think there's somebody else running it with him,
Right.
like he's co-executive
Right.
producer or whatever it is.
Right.
So
Which is fine. And
Yeah.
so I'm not sure if you kept up on this, Paul, but James Gunn was fired from Marvel like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
Then he was hired back. But in that meantime, he wrote and directed The Suicide Squad and The Peacemaker.
and Birds
And
of
what?
Prey. Oh, not Birds of Prey.
No, not Birds of Prey. No, but it's like so. Then he came back to finish Guardians, but now it's kind of like he's probably been given more creative freedom at DC, so he's just going to stick with them now, which I don't blame him for it. You know,
Yeah.
like, what did you think of?
He
Did
just
you enjoy,
promised- Sorry.
what's that?
I think he just promised Marvel basically, or the fans, that he was just going to complete the trilogy of Guardians, right? So
Right,
Mhm.
it's
right.
not really letting any of us down as long as he keeps putting out material. then that's pretty fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is the thing about James Gunn, it's not even just the humor, because I just rewatched Guardians 1. It's not just the humor. It's the fact that, you know, everything is bright. Everything looks like the comics. Like the Nova Corps look like the real Nova Corps from the comics. He keeps the designs pretty accurate to the comics. You know, again, the bright colors and everything. He's not. I mean, even though it is played for laughs, he's not embarrassed by it. He's acknowledging the absurdity, but he's still keeping it like the comics. Like, you know, for example, Winter Soldier, good movie, but they really could have done more with what was the computer guy's name? Is it Arnim Zola?
Arnim Zola.
Yeah, they could have done more with that. Like the visuals of Arnim Zola. Like you have a great visual by Jack Kirby and you don't even use it, right? Whereas with James Gunn, I feel like the way he did, say, Drax doesn't look exactly like the comic, but it embraces the comic and then one-ups it, kind of, right? Or even Rocket Raccoon. So that's why I'm such a fan of him. Yeah, and like and Peacemaker. Like Peacemaker looks like a cosplayer playing Peacemaker, not like a movie version of Peacemaker, right?
Yeah, almost.
Like the plastic helmet and everything.
Yeah, because we kind of get this like more human side to his character, and he's always like breaking his costume or walking around in his underwear, but still having the helmet on. Like it kind of shows that more like human side. He's not always like perfectly in his suit or like the battle damage and just like the perfect spots to make it look cool or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Paul, are you a fan of the original Guardians team from like 69 or whatever it was with Vance Astro and
yeah, geez, yeah, the Crystal guy and the
Martin X?
Martin X, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I liked. I never really read them. You know, I liked them whenever I saw them, but I think most of I like read about them in the Marvel Universe, the character guide type of thing.
Yes.
I don't really recall them ever being a part of anything major.
Well, they kind of were around for a while, then they disappeared for like 10 years, and then Jim Valentino brought them back in like 1990 with a new #1. And they lasted like quite a while, 5 years or something.
Yeah, I think more like a time with like the Micronauts and stuff.
Sure.
It's just one of those things. They weren't really on my radar too much.
Right.
But I remember, Yondu definitely like stuck out with the giant red fin and the golden bow and arrow, and you know.
You know, it's funny because you mentioned that you mostly came across them in the Marvel Universe, and that's exactly where I read. Like I'm talking decades, I read about them in the Marvel Universe, and then I finally got the collections of all their appearances. And when I read the actual comics, I realized that I like the Marvel Universe descriptions of the stories better than the stories themselves. You know, but whatever, that's bound to happen. So G.I. Jolie, there's only going to be one more Guardians of the Galaxy movie with, under James Gunn. Is there anything different you want to see? Anything more? Are there any plot lines you care about? Or you just want it to be, more laughs and more fun?
I am really enjoying the music, I guess.
Yes.
So I don't want that to change. They kind of, if anything, I think they did a really good job. They did a really, really good job with the music in this one. I can't remember who the music supervisor is, but I was reading it. I just was like, today I found out the Smashing Pumpkins had a Christmas song. So
yes, I know, that was cool.
It was because of this movie, and it's like James Gunn never ceases to surprise me. Like the people he finds and the wealth of musical knowledge that he infuses into his films. And I don't want that to end, but I also don't want it to get like Peacemaker ridiculous, because Peacemaker was good, but it was like watching every like glam metal band like at once. So
sure.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I want to stick around. The vibe, the look, just like the sort of technical things is what I think makes the Guardians of the Galaxy. Otherwise, like, this is one of the only films in the Marvel universe where people aren't really familiar with the characters. I would argue that most general audiences do not know who the Guardians of the Galaxy are. But because everything, like the world that the science fiction world that they've been placed in, makes them, and the characters make them relatable and they make the movies accessible to a general audience. And I don't want those things to be lost into, the big shoot 'em ups that we know Marvel movies can become, like the big super powered shoot 'em ups. And I think that's what's really great about these space films.
I'm hoping that with Guardians 3, if James Gunn is not returning for Guardians 4, I hope that they finish up all of the characters' arcs. They can either write them off or they can continue them into a new Guardians, but we can have like a whole new lineup of characters for the next Guardians, and just everybody can kind of do their own thing. That's kind of what I'm hoping, because I think that the Guardians characters and movies have so much of James Gunn's DNA just like built into the story and the feel of everything that if he's not going to be a part of it, I kind of want it to just be a completely different thing and go into a new direction.
I agree. And it's like, even when the Guardians were in Avengers 3 and 4, it was James Gunn writing their dialogue. Yeah. That's why it was so funny. It was great. Yeah. So you're right. Without him, it's going to feel awkward. It's like when a showrunner leaves a TV show and the characters are all just a little bit off. That's what it'd be kind of like. Yeah. But Paul, do you have any wishes for Guardians 3, but what you'd like to see?
Yeah, man, pretty much concur with the group. I want it to feel like the Guardians. What James Gunn made. I think let's see that flower bloom. Now, like Jolie said, the music is a big fan favorite. He really picked some nice, well known and some obscure, old heartfelt tunes. And I'm kind of afraid now that it might be harder to do with the third one, because now they have access to Earth. So he's no longer stuck with these tapes. So now,
he's got a Zune. I think he's got a Zune now, so we can dip into a bunch of 90s classics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Okay, well, I think we're done with our Guardians review. I mean, it was only a 45-minute special, so there's only so much we can say, but I think we all enjoyed it. Some of us had some reservations, but the thing is I would love to see more stuff like this. Like, for example, Gia, Jolie, and I, we watched the I don't know what they're called, but those little shorts they have on Disney Plus with like the little, what are they called?
Oh, sorry. No. I thought you meant the group one.
Oh, you mean like the behind the scenes, like making up? It's
not even those. We watched like Thor and his roommate. Remember?
Oh, yeah, that was like a promotional thing. Like
those are gold.
Right.
Like the ones with Thor and his roommate are some of the funniest things I've seen, and I'd like to see more of that.
Then that's the thing I like, that even though, what is it? Sorry, now I'm just gonna go on a Thor tangent. His roommate is Daryl, right?
Yes.
Daryl, yeah.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Daryl was in Love and Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was. He was.
Yeah, and I was like, "Where's Daryl?" And someone's like, "Who's Daryl?" I'm like, "Oh no, you don't know who Daryl is!" And it's like so fun that they only had Daryl in those little interstitials, web series, those little web special thingies, but then they put him in Love and Thunder.
Yeah,
I missed that.
Yeah, Paul, if you go on Disney Plus, you kind of have to search around, but they have a whole bunch of...
Daryl. I just missed Daryl in the movie.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, he's in there, definitely.
And yeah, for anybody out there watching, he is definitely worth hunting down and looking at.
Yeah.
not Daryl himself.
Right.
Yes. Okay, well, Paul, we definitely we'd like to have you on. Here comes the Spider-Cast, but there's only a handful of episodes left. So, do you think you're free in the next few weeks on a Tuesday night?
Yeah, it depends on the Tuesday night. I've got a couple Zoom meetings regularly scheduled for Tuesdays, but
gotcha. Okay.
I think next Tuesday is probably a no, but depending on the time. If it's 6:30, then maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Awesome. Okay, well, the invitation's out, and we'll definitely talk. Okay, well, we want to thank Paul for finally being on the show. We want to thank Gia, Jolie, and Josh for joining us. And be sure to join us every week on Here Comes the Spider Cast. And I'm sure Bex will be back with us on our next episode. So be sure to join us. And we don't have a tagline for Comic Book Syndicate, so we'll just see you next time.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye.